When I say Super Bowl, what comes to mind? Football, right? Of course. But the game itself, that's really just the beginning. We're talking about something way bigger. It's basically an unofficial national holiday. It's this massive cultural event that pretty much stops the entire country for one Sunday a year.
Okay, to really get a sense of the scale here, just look at this number. 123.7 million people. That's how many folks tuned in for the last Super Bowl. I mean, that is the single most watched broadcast in the history of the United States. Think about it. In a world where we're all watching a million different things on a million different screens, getting that many people to watch the same thing at the same time, it's almost impossible.
And all those eyeballs, well, they are worth a lot of money. How much? $7 million. That's the price tag for just one 30-second commercial. Let that sink in. If you break it down, that's more than $230,000 per second. Unbelievable.
But hey, it's not just about sitting on the couch and watching. Oh no, it's a full-on party, a celebration. How do we know? Well, on Super Bowl Sunday, Americans chow down on something like 1.45 billion chicken wings. Billion with a B. We're talking about a feast that honestly gives Thanksgiving a run for its money.
So the big question is, how did we get here? How did a championship football game, one that started from a pretty nasty business rivalry, turn into this, America's biggest stage? Well, that's the story we're going to unpack right now.
All right, so our story actually starts not on the field, but in the boardroom. It's a story about a conflict, a high-stakes war for the soul of professional football. At the center of this war, you had two leagues that could not have been more different. You had the NFL. Think of them as the old guard, the establishment. They were conservative, powerful, a real monopoly. And then you had the AFL. They were the new kids on the block, the upstarts. Flashy, exciting, with this high-flying, pass-happy offense that was just perfect for TV.
And that whole rebellious, upstart vibe, it really came from one guy, Lamar Hunt. He was a rich businessman who wanted an NFL team, but the league shut him down. So what did he do? He didn't just go home. He basically said, fine, I'll start my own league. And with those words, a war for players, for fans, for everything was over.
And this rivalry got ugly, fast. It turned into this insane bidding war for the best college players. Both leagues were just throwing ridiculous amounts of money around, trying to one-up each other. I mean, get this. In 1966 alone, they blew a combined $7 million just on draft picks. For back then, that was an absolutely insane amount of money. It was totally unsustainable. Something had to give.
So they were basically on a path to bankrupting each other. They had to call a truce. So on June 8th, 1966, they did the unthinkable. They announced a merger. And the crown jewel of this peace treaty was an agreement to have a new, final showdown, one championship game to rule them all, between the AFL champ and the NFL champ. And just like that, the Super Bowl was born.
Okay, so they created the game, but that wasn't enough, not even close. For this thing to actually work, for it to last, it needed to be more than just a business deal. It had to become legendary. It needed a real identity.
You know, it's kind of funny to think about now, but that very first Super Bowl, it was a total flop. Seriously. Tickets were $12. 12! And they still couldn't sell the place out. There were 30,000 empty seats in the stadium. Now fast forward to today, the average ticket costs over $9,000. It's one of the hardest tickets to get on the planet.
The game was dying for a hero. It needed a spark, a signature moment to make people actually care. And boy, did it get one in Super Bowl III. Enter Joe Namath, the quarterback for the AFL's New York Jets. This guy was pure swagger, famous for his fur coats and his confidence. And his team was a massive underdog against the NFL's Baltimore Colts, this unstoppable machine. But a few days before the game, Namath goes out and makes this crazy, legendary guarantee.
And the craziest part? He backed it up. The Jets pulled off this incredible upset. And you can't overstate how important this was. It's probably the single most important win in pro football history. It proved that the AFL wasn't a joke, that they could go toe-to-toe with the big boys in the NFL. That win legitimized the whole merger, and really, it saved the Super Bowl.
And that one game really opened the floodgates. The Super Bowl became a stage for incredible dynasties that would define entire decades. You had the terrifying steel curtain defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 70s. Then came the 80s and the beautiful, precise West Coast offense of the San Francisco 49ers. The 90s were all about the star power of the Dallas Cowboys. These teams didn't just win championships, they literally defined their era.
But of course, When you talk about modern dynasties, one team stands above all the rest: the New England Patriots. For 2 decades, Coach Bill Belichick and quarterback Tom Brady just dominated. It was an absolutely unprecedented run. They won 6 Super Bowls together, and Brady's name became synonymous with greatest of all time.
So, while all this incredible drama was unfolding on the field, something else was happening in parallel. The game was evolving. It was becoming more than just a game. It was becoming a platform for a massive spectacle of entertainment and, of course, big business.
Just think about the halftime show for a second. For years, decades even, what was it? Marching bands, right? It was basically a 15-minute bathroom break. But that all changed forever in 1993. That's when Michael Jackson took the stage, and his performance was so huge, so epic, that more people watched him than watched the actual football game. And you can just imagine the light bulbs going off at the NFL. They realized, wait a minute, halftime can be the main event.
And around the same time, the commercials were having their own revolution. The Big Bang moment was in 1984. Apple released this mind-blowing commercial, directed by Ridley Scott, of all people. It wasn't just an ad, it was like a mini-movie, a cinematic event. And that ad proved that a commercial break didn't have to be a break from the entertainment, it could be part of it.
And the price for a spot in that cultural moment? It just went to the moon. Look at this. In 1967, an ad cost about 40 grand. Today, 7 million. And no, that is not just inflation. This chart is basically a picture of the Super Bowl becoming the most valuable, most prized piece of real estate in the entire media world.
So, let's put it all together. You take this incredible high-stakes, on-field history, you mix in a blockbuster entertainment spectacle, and what do you get? You get something so much bigger than just a football game. You get America's biggest stage. The secret sauce here is really this perfect combination of things. You've got the pure, unscripted drama of a championship game at its core. Then you layer on this massive, must-see concert at halftime, and you wrap the whole thing up with these cinematic, talked-about-for-weeks commercials. It's been engineered so there's literally something for everyone. Even if you don't know the first thing about football, you're probably tuning in.
You know, we live in this incredibly fragmented world now. Everybody's on their own screen, watching their own thing. The Super Bowl is one of the last things, maybe the last thing, that brings almost all of us together to watch the same event at the same time. It's become our last digital campfire. But in a world that's changing faster than ever, you have to wonder, right? For how long?